It's Friday morning, 2030. Your alarm didn't go off because it's your day off. No emails, no meetings, no stress. This isn't unemployment, it's the 4-day work week. TGIF now means totally gone is Friday from work. And yes, your millennial boss is still adjusting. Subscribe to Genshift, where working less doesn't mean doing less. The 4-day Workweek Movement. Picture this, a 4-day work week where Thursdays are the new Fridays. You wrap up Thursday evening and step into a 3-day weekend feeling recharged, not drained. For Gen Z, this isn't a far-fetched fantasy. It's a rallying cry. 93% of Gen Z say a 4-day week would make a job more attractive. For them, less is more. Fewer days working, more energy, more mental health. Millennials, raised on hustle culture, still carry memories of last one in the office pride. But even they're now rethinking, is burnout really ambition? The results are in. When 61 UK companies piloted 4-day weeks, 92% stuck with it. Productivity held, turnover dropped, employees said, never going back. From California startups to Japan's Quiet Fridays, this isn't just talk, it's happening. Gen Z isn't lazy, they're efficient. For them, rest isn't indulgence, it's strategy. Remote/hybrid norms. Your Monday, 9 a.m. You're logging in from a beachside cafe, latte in hand, while your millennial colleague is already in a half-empty office downtown out of habit. In 2030, the office is optional, and that idea took root in the 2020s when remote and hybrid work became not just perks, but expectations. Gen Z, who launched their careers amid Zoom meetings and digital collaboration, often see physical offices as tools, not requirements. To them, a workspace might be a living room, a co-working hub, or anywhere with Wi-Fi. By contrast, many millennials remember starting out in cubicles, under the watchful eyes of bosses who equated hours at desk with productivity. They've since adapted, sometimes eagerly. Now, as managers, millennials increasingly champion flexibility too. But there's an interesting twist. Surveys reveal a generational divide. Nearly half of millennials, 49%, would prefer to work fully remotely, whereas only 27% of Gen Z say the same. Surprising? It turns out younger Gen Z workers crave some in-person connection, the buzz of collaborating face-to-face, more than their millennial counterparts who've settled into home offices. After all, if you're 22 and starting your first job, you might actually want those office friendships and mentorship moments that older colleagues sometimes take for granted. Still, on one point they emphatically agree. Flexibility is non-negotiable. Both generations expect to blend remote and office life to suit the work at hand and their personal lives. In one survey, fully 50% of Gen Z said they wouldn't even consider a job with zero remote option. Translation: if a company demands butt-in-seat 9 to 5 every day, young talent may simply walk away. Millennials, having fought for work-from-home policies as they grew into parenthood or passion projects, back Gen Z's stance, though some quietly reminisce about the serendipity of hallway chats and free office coffee. The office-first legacy is fading. In its place, rises a norm where Tuesday might be team day on-site, Wednesday you dial in from home, and Friday, well, that might just be part of your long weekend. It's work unshackled from a single location, a culture shock for traditionalists, but business as usual for Gen Z. Tech-enhanced work? You greet your newest coworker as you log on. Not a person, but an AI named Ava. She's already analyzed yesterday's data and drafted a report by the time you take your first sip of coffee. Welcome to 2030. Where AI assistants and human teams work side by side. For Gen Z, digital natives raised with Siri and Alexa, collaborating with an AI isn't sci-fi. It's second nature. This generation is quick to hand off drudge work to algorithms, automatically scheduling meetings, triaging emails, generating first draft presentations, freeing up humans for what they do best: creative strategy, complex problem solving, building relationships. Millennials, who remember Clippy the paperclip and the days of clunky early office tech, have come around too. Many now embrace AI for the efficiency it brings, though they might occasionally reminisce about when they were the interns doing those grunt tasks. Stats paint the picture. One recent study found 93% of Gen Z workers, early 20s, use at least 2 AI tools every week, compared to about 79% of millennials. Gen Z is leading in adopting AI at work, whether it's using ChatGPT to brainstorm ideas or an algorithm to crunch sales numbers. But here's the flip side. They're also a bit anxious about it. Roughly 3 in 5 young workers worry that AI could steal jobs. Not abstract jobs, their jobs. In fact, many are already seeking out AI-proof roles or doubling down on uniquely human skills. Millennials share these mixed feelings. They've weathered waves of automation for years, from assembly lines to self-checkouts. So they tend to be cautiously optimistic. Use the tech, but keep an eye on where it's headed. Both generations see the potential for AI to eliminate tedious busy work. Imagine no more manual data entry or endless status reports, which could save time and reduce burnout. And early results are promising. For example, software developers using AI assistants have been shown to boost productivity by up to 26% in coding tasks. The culture contrast emerges in how openly they embrace these digital coworkers. Gen Z might nickname their AI assistant and treat it like part of the team, crowdsourcing answers from it like you would from a colleague. Millennials, now often in leadership, might implement AI more strategically, as tools to empower their teams, but sometimes with a tinge of, wow, the future got here fast. In meetings, it's not unusual now to have an AI system transcribing notes or providing on-the-fly research. A Gen Z analyst might cheerfully say, "Let's ask our AI for a first pass on this." Whereas a millennial director nods in agreement, remembering when such tech was just a plot in the Jetsons. The bottom line? AI and automation are redefining work, and Gen Z is surfing that wave with confidence and a bit of caution. They're determined to master these tools, so they don't become a victim of them. After all, if an AI can do in seconds what used to take you hours, that's more time to focus on the big picture, the parts of work that really matter and fulfill us. Redefining career. It's 8 p.m. and you've just wrapped up a design session for your side business. After finishing your day job at 4, this is the new career landscape. Lattices instead of ladders. For older generations, a career was often a straight line. Think, climb the corporate ladder, rung by rung. But Gen Z is sketching something different, a web of experiences. They don't expect a lifetime at one company, nor do they necessarily aspire to the corner office with a big title. Instead, many chase growth and purpose over prestige, even if it means zigzagging across industries or juggling multiple roles. Side hustles are practically standard now. About 45% of Gen Z workers have a paying side gig alongside their main job, compared to about 36% of millennials. That could be anything from running an Etsy shop, freelance coding, to driving for a rideshare on weekends. For Gen Z, this isn't just extra income. Though with student debts and high rents, that helps. It's also a way to explore passions and diversify skills. Millennials pioneered the side hustle trend during economic downturns and gig economy booms, and many still keep one foot in a passion project. But they often treated side gigs as a temporary phase, or a means to an end. Gen Z is turning it into a long-term feature of working life, a portfolio career by design. The very definition of success is shifting. Ask a millennial at 25 what a good career meant, and you might have heard, work hard, get promoted, manage a team by 30. Ask a Gen Z at 25 today, and you might hear, learn new skills, do work I care about, maybe start a business on the side. In fact, nearly 90% of Gen Z and millennial employees say that a sense of purpose is crucial to their job satisfaction. Many young workers would choose a company aligned with their values over one with a fancier name or higher pay. A dramatic shift from the days when a big brand on your resume was the ultimate prize. And the traditional career ladder is out. The career lattice is in. Gen Z expects to move sideways, diagonally, wherever opportunity calls. They might start in marketing, jump to project management, then take a stint in UX design, all to broaden their experience and keep work interesting. As one report put it, they want more control and chances to experiment with different roles. Millennials, now in mid-career, often applaud this fluid approach. Many of them changed jobs frequently in their 20s too, albeit sometimes out of necessity. Yet some millennial managers scratch their heads when a promising young employee declines a promotion because it doesn't fit their personal goals or plans to take a sabbatical to travel. In their day, that was almost unthinkable. But for Gen Z, a promotion without personal growth or meaning can feel hollow. Companies are catching on. Progressive employers now offer lattice career paths, allowing talent to try new departments or roles without losing status, and encourage passion projects, even within the company. Development is the new retention strategy. If Gen Z can't grow in diverse ways, they'll leave. Side hustles? Forward-thinking firms are supportive, even hosting internal gig marketplaces for extra projects, so employees scratch that entrepreneurial itch internally. The message is clear. Work isn't just a 9-to-5 job. It's part of a life portfolio. And while millennials paved the way in questioning corporate loyalty, gone is the gold watch after 40 years at one firm, Gen Z is cementing the idea that a career is a journey of many chapters. Prestige and titles matter less than learning, impact, and balance. As a millennial mentor might tell a Gen Z protege, don't climb just for the sake of climbing. Build a career that means something to you. And that's exactly what Gen Z intends to do. Company culture reimagined. You sign into the virtual town hall meeting. The CEO, in a hoodie, is discussing the company's new mental health days and asking employees to share feedback anonymously. This is not the buttoned-up corporate culture of decades past. This is 2020s meets 2030s realness, driven in large part by Gen Z's influence. Let's start with the M word, mental health. Gen Z has blown the doors open on conversations about well-being at work. They expect companies to not just pay lip service, but genuinely care. Gen Z wants more than feel-good slogans. They want action. In practice, that means they favor bosses who check in with, "How are you really doing?" and policies like mental health days, therapy stipends, or quiet rooms in the office. Millennials have been pushing this forward too. Remember, they were dubbed the burnout generation, but many of them had to fight stigma around mental health at work. Gen Z, seeing the toll of that stigma, is far less willing to stay silent. Still, there's a gap. Once they actually start working alongside older colleagues, only about 56% of Gen Z employees currently feel comfortable opening up about mental health issues with their managers. In other words, the intention is there, but company cultures haven't fully caught up. Millennials in leadership might be learning to have these talks, but some came up in environments where personal struggles were taboo at work. Bridging that divide is an ongoing effort, with Gen Z pushing for authenticity and older gens learning that a bit of vulnerability is okay in the workplace. Another cultural pillar is DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and Gen Z treats it as a must-have, not a nice-to-have. This generation is the most diverse in history, and they expect their employers to reflect and champion that diversity. Nearly 73% of Gen Z candidates say they scrutinize a company's DEI efforts when job hunting. Millennials aren't far behind at 68%. They want to see real representation in leadership, coworkers of all backgrounds, and genuine inclusion, where everyone's voice is heard. Millennials, too, value diversity, many having advocated for it as they rose in ranks. But Gen Z flat out grew up expecting it. They're quick to call out tokenism or phony corporate slogans. For a Gen Z employee, a company that talks a big game about empowerment or family culture better back it up with action. Be it diverse hiring, equal pay, or a willingness to speak out on social issues. Brand values bleed into personal identity for them. It's not uncommon to hear a 26-year-old say they chose their employer because of its sustainability mission or stance on social justice. Millennials started that trend of aligning values with work. Think of the rise of B Corps and meaningful work movements in the 2010s. But Gen Z has taken it to a new level of accountability. And then there's hierarchy, or the lack thereof. Gen Z enters the workforce with a mindset that respect is earned through ideas and character, not titles. They aren't impressed by formalities. The CEO might get the same friendly critique in a meeting that a peer would. This can shock older managers who were taught to wait your turn and defer to authority. As one generational expert quipped, Gen Z don't like the idea of being managed. Instead, they want to be mentored. They thrive in flat organizations where leaders are approachable, and every team member, regardless of age or rank, has a voice. Millennials, now often in those manager roles, are adapting. Many remember chafing under hierarchical structures themselves, and thus try to be the kind of collaborative leaders they wished they had. The result is a slow but sure democratization of workplace culture. First-name basis, open door or open Slack policies, and crowdsourced decision-making. Gen Z is candid. They'll DM a director with a suggestion if they think it's a good one. And they expect feedback to be a two-way street. This informality can be misread by older colleagues as lack of respect, but in truth, it's just a different style of respect. It's treating everyone as fundamentally equal humans working toward a shared goal, rather than emphasizing rank. The new company culture is still a work in progress. A blend of millennial-introduced innovations, like flexible schedules, remote perks, casual dress codes, and Gen Z's demands for authenticity, inclusivity, and well-being. Tensions flare occasionally. A Gen Z staffer might publicly question a policy in an all-hands meeting, catching a Gen X boss off guard. A millennial HR director might struggle to update 20-year-old company policies overnight. But overall, the trend is clear. Workplaces in 2030 are more human-centered than ever. Mental health is openly addressed. No more whispering about a therapy appointment. It's just normal. Diversity is a given expectation, and values mean something tangible. The cultures that thrive are the ones where people feel safe, seen, and supported, which, frankly, benefits everyone, millennial and Gen Z alike.
Worthwhile work. Unifying message.
In this cinematic journey through the near-future workplace, one thing stands out. Gen Z isn't trying to escape work. They're redesigning it to make it worth doing. From bold experiments like the 4-day week, to insisting that work fit into life, and not the other way around, to embracing tech as a teammate, Gen Z is challenging the status quo and asking the big question, what is work for? Their answer seems to be, work should fuel our lives, not drain them. And in that vision, they're joined by millennials who've longed for many of the same changes. The result? A 2030 workplace that might just be more balanced, inclusive, and humane than any before. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to subscribe to Genshift for more episodes delving into how generations are transforming our world. Hit the bell, leave a comment with your thoughts on the 4-day workweek or any of these trends, and share this video with someone curious about the future. Until next time, remember, the future of work isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.